So yeah, Dr. Deepti, can you please explain to our viewers that what is the meaning of a polygraph test and a narco-analysis and a brain mapping test, which are being done on the murder accused Aftab Poonewala?
Okay. So basically, polygraph, narcoanalysis, or brain electrical oscillation signature profiling, these are the tests which are used in forensic psychology for the purpose of aiding the investigation. So polygraph is a test where we measure the various physiological parameters in a person's body. So the theory is that the person can lie to others. They cannot lie to their own. So when you ask a question, directly, when you have to generate a lie, while truth will be automatic process. And so when a person has to generate a lie, it will automatically lead, because of the autonomic nervous system, to the changes in the physiology, which is being monitored by the polygraph through these various parameters. On the other hand, narcoanalysis is a test wherein a drug, which is sodium pentothal, will be injected into the person's body intravenously. Narcoanalysis is specifically conducted where we have to gather information. So narcoanalysis is not a lie detector test. Polygraph is for detecting deception. While narcoanalysis, the main use of narcoanalysis is to gather more information about the crime. One which you were talking about, brain electrical oscillation signature profiling, is the test where we are measuring the experiential knowledge in the person's brain. So what exactly is experiential knowledge? Basically, a person will have experience only when he participates in the act. So in this case, it is only when the person participates in a crime will the person's brain have the memory about the crime in form of small probes. We don't ask questions. It is in form of probes, which are small statements. So that entire crime scene is reconstructed. And then the person has to sit in the room and he will be presented with these probes through the entire audio video format, and their activation in the brain is monitored to look for changes in the brain in terms of the experiential knowledge. So here we are looking at experiential knowledge. In polygraph, we are trying to look whether the person is lying, and narcoanalysis, we are trying to gather more information. So all the three techniques have different roles to play in the entire crime. Again, if there are many questions, we cannot keep continuing asking them. So they also, the persons who are undergoing the test, we have to monitor their mental health as well as their physical health, because they have to be comfortable when they are undergoing the test. We don't make them, put them under stress and all when they have to undergo the test. So you have to maintain all those protocols.
Dr. Deepti, I read somewhere when I was researching on brain mapping, I'm sorry, I don't remember the full form, but it said that some people who have, basically it's about the knowledge of the crime. So that's what it said. And what if some person has just read about it or probably watched something, a recreation of a report or something. So does that also will that person also have a same response as the person who has actually seen it and done the crime?
Our brain has different processes. So when we read a particular thing, like for example, most of us or all the people in India would be aware at present about the case. But what we would be having is the information about the case. None of us would have the experience of actually participating in terms of being a part of this murder. So what we have is conceptual knowledge, while only the perpetrator will have the experiential knowledge. So that's where the brain processes are different.
Can you tell our viewers that if the results of these tests is not admissible in court as evidence, how does it help the investigators in cases where there is lack of physical evidence?
Okay, See, basically, these psychological tests are used when there is no physical evidence, available for a particular crime, or there is a lack of physical evidence. So these tests would help us gather more information or gather evidence. For example, when you ask different kinds of questions in polygraph, you can test various hypotheses. So, whether the person has thrown the weapon in a particular place where the investigating officers doubt that it might be here or it might be there. So, we can ask them various questions and figure out whether the person has, thrown it in which particular case. Similarly, in terms of narco, we are asking the person's questions so that they can give us more information about the crime. So, that is how we are trying to reach to the evidence. So, all these tests help in aiding investigation. Their main aim is to aid investigation so that whatever evidence has been gathered through use of these techniques can be presented in the court. So the reports of these tests won't be presented as evidence, but whatever information or evidence have been gathered by using these tests can be admissible in the court.
My next question is that there have been certain statements that some people are capable of controlling their physiological responses and cheating a polygraph test or even a narco test, which I find it kind of hard to believe. But can you explain if this is true or if it's possible?
See, frankly, it's not easy to manipulate a particular test. Okay, reason being, obviously, the expert who's conducting the test is also aware of what are the kinds of techniques the person may use to manipulate a particular test. Secondly, it's not easy to manipulate your own physiological responses. It's certainly not possible. And what we are looking at is response conflict in the brain. So, it's not possible to make changes in your brain all of a sudden. There are processes that we have to, there are protocols, there are processes that we have to follow. Obviously, we are not saying that these tests are 100% accurate and they are going to give the results. There is the reliability and validity of each test has been already established and it has been published. So we have to understand why they are being used. So it's not very easy to manipulate. Even when the person is brought by the investigating officer, there is a thorough check which would be done, whether they are carrying something, whether they have been induced with drugs. So obviously when you do, we have to do physical assessments as well as mental assessments are done. So whether the person is physically fit, mentally fit to undergo the test. So all this is, done before the person is taken for the testing.
Do you believe that the accused can probably have, prepared for an investigation like this, since he or she had 6 months to prepare for it, and maybe they must have thought that, yes, at some point I could be questioned?
See, personally, okay, this is a very personal opinion. In general, on the basis of our experience, we have conducted many tests, and even in cases where the crimes have been done almost years ago, we have been able to find some evidence, or whether they are lying or what are the things about. So that was possible. I am not sure. I don't think the person would be able to prepare so much for investigation, because when he had already, tried to destroy all the evidence, he was somewhere, he might have been confident that he may never get caught. So then he might not even be preparing for, if investigation happens, what I will say and all those things. He was confident that he is not going to get caught. Somehow he is obviously caught, and, things are being investigated, whether he is the one who has done the offense. So I personally don't think he may have got a lot of time to prepare for the investigation as such. Obviously, he has taken a lot of effort to destroy the evidence.
Thank you so much for joining us for this interview and sharing all this knowledge with our viewers, because I think there was a lot of, half-said information. So thank you for clarifying all the facts with us. And thank you.